I remember when I was climbing the jiu-jitsu ranks, when I was a white belt and a blue belt, I used to hear this advice all the time. Well, if you just keep showing up, good things will happen. So don't worry about it. Just keep showing up and everything will work out. Here's the thing. I hated hearing that advice. It did absolutely nothing for me. And honestly, it actually kind of does more harm than good in my opinion. So in today's video, I want to give you guys some breakdown on actually a deeper insight onto what that actually means and how you can actually get better at jiu-jitsu. And I'll give you guys a little bit better advice. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys hit the bell icon. That way you never miss the latest video whenever it comes out. Also, if you're liking this kind of content, give me a like. It helps me get seen the rest of the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you guys enjoy jiu-jitsu content, make sure you guys check out my podcast, the Jiu-Jitsu Secrets podcast you can find right here. For myself, I absolutely hated hearing this advice because it made me feel like I had zero control of my actual jiu-jitsu journey. It made it feel like that there was nothing I could do to actually improve or get better. Because when people tell you that just stick with it, stay after it, good things happen to those who keep showing up, and don't worry about it, it will click for you one day. But honestly, that's the bare minimum advice. But really, this is a fault on two sides of individuals. It's a fault on the student for asking, and it's a fault on the instructor or the upper belt or someone who's giving that advice. Now, the fault, I'm a firm believer that the fault is rarely 50-50. It's rarely even. Sometimes, most of the time, the fault sways to more of one side or the other. And I'm going to give you guys the black belt answer, is it kind of depends. And it really depends on the student. Before we continue any further in this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Gold BJJ. Oh, wait a minute. It's a nice gi right here. So this is their all clean white gi. Nice little logo right here. I love wearing this one, or especially when I'm going to do seminars or belt promotions and I need to take nice clean photos. This is an all nice white gi. Not a bunch of labeling all over it. Make sure you guys check out their entire website at goldbjj.com. They have a lot of great training gear and options. Also, if you use my code down in the description below, you will also get a free body wash gift that you can wash all the nasty mat fungus off of you. So make sure you guys check them out. Here's how I look at this, being a jiu-jitsu instructor for, 14 years now and teaching thousands of students. If they're a white or a blue belt and they ask that question and they say, how can I get better at jiu-jitsu? And I say it depends, or just keep showing up, the fault is on me as the instructor. Because the white and blue belts don't know anything else how to ask a better question. They are still very new to jiu-jitsu. They think that you have all the answers to everything, and they don't trust that if they just keep showing up, things will start to click. They have a fear that if they just keep doing that and nothing changes in their daily journey, then they won't be good enough. The upper belt or the instructor gives that advice because they've overcome that hurdle, and they probably thought that at one time, and maybe what they did was just keep showing up. But I can guarantee you they didn't just keep showing up, because if that's the only thing that they did was just keep showing up, then they probably would have quit like everybody else. There was something that they had to have done in order to make themselves be better. Either they did private lessons, they bought instructionals, they figured out how to train better, they focused on something. If you just keep showing up, that's not going to make any difference. So they had to have done something. But in their brain, from the upper belt standpoint, they say, well, yeah, if you just keep showing up, good things will happen. I lean heavily to it being the fault toward the instructor or the upper belt if the student asking is a white belt or a blue belt or fairly new. It shifts blame if this becomes a later blue belt or into purple belt or brown belt, that if the question is not asked better, then I put the fault on the student. And I put the fault on the student because you should be at a point now in your journey where you should be asking better questions. You should be saying, hey, I'm having a problem with X, Y, and Z. Hey, I'm having a problem with this. If you just say, when's it going to start clicking? Like, that's such a wide range, a spectrum, and it's different per your body style, your body type, your age, your da-da-da. There are so many things that go into a factor about when jiu-jitsu will start clicking that it's almost impossible to give you a timetable answer. Now, if you give me more of a realistic perspective of like, hey, I'm a blue belt, I'm grappling another blue belt who's my skill, how quickly can I start passing their guard? Like, what's a realistic expectation? Then I could give you a general idea, but that's more of a specific question. I encourage you, even if you're a white belt or a new blue belt, even though I said you didn't have fault in asking poor questions, I still highly recommend that you start asking better questions sooner than later. I recently did a video that I think came out like a week or so ago where it was talking about improving jiu-jitsu and blanking out. And I gave a lot of good examples about how you can ask a little bit better of questions. If you guys haven't checked that video out, make sure you do that after you watch this video because it will help you with this idea. Let me know down in the comments below, what's some good advice that you have received? Do you like hearing just showing up? Do you think it is that simple? Let me know. It always generates a cool discussion down in the comments, and I'd be happy to hear from you guys. So I know you guys are saying, well, Chase, you've talked about this. You've talked about how just showing up's not going to do anything. So what are some things that I can actually do to get better at jiu-jitsu? What's some better piece of advice, or what are some actual tangible steps that you guys can take? Well, first off, this whole stinking YouTube channel is dedicated to those things. So I have countless videos. So go on a binge about watching all of that, but I'll give you guys some things that you can do inside of here as well. The first thing you should do is show up to each class with like a purpose or an objective. Often students walk through the door and they have zero idea about what they're supposed to be training or why they're training that. And so they default to what's called the move of the day. They're just blindly guessing things to teach and train. Maybe they saw a cool Instagram video or they just bought a new instructional. So they think that that's what they should be training, which sometimes that might be. But if you have no real plan when you walk through the door, that's going to be step one of that just showing up advice. Then if you don't want to hear that advice, then show up with a plan. Because now when you show up with a plan and your plan starts failing, you can go, and when you ask this intelligent question, you should be asking the question around your plan. So that way you don't hear just show up and good things will happen. So if you're trying to work guard passing, for example, you shouldn't just ask, well, my guard passing sucks. How do I get better? It's a very poor question. You should have a plan of a guard pass you're trying to work. Maybe you're trying to work a Toriando pass or an over-under pass, right? And so you continue to try to be able to work that pass and it's failing. So now you go to your coach and say, Coach, I'm working this style of a pass. It doesn't seem to work when the person does X, Y, and Z, or I'm having a hard time of even getting it started. What do you recommend? Just show up question should be gone, and there is no that advice being given. You are now asking a better question. So this is why I said in the beginning, as you become more skilled at jiu-jitsu, the responsibility relies on you. When you're a white or a blue belt, it's a little bit tougher, but you can start adopting this mindset right now, and it will actually help you get better at jiu-jitsu faster. The thing about setting a training focus is make sure that the focus is actually achievable and realistic, that you're able to be able to train. This is really where using your jiu-jitsu instructor or your training partners, or even reach out to me. I have people who reach out to me either via email or through DMs on Instagram or something all the time that kind of are wanting some kind of direction on how to build their training focus. Talking with your coach about that and picking an appropriate goal for you, I think is very key, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to improve something, there needs to be a goal that's set. So if you set too lofty of goals, then you're going to be extremely disappointed. You know, in the corporate world, there's these things called SMART goals. And in jiu-jitsu, there's definitely SMART goals as well too. So you got to think about it from that standpoint. What's a goal that's actually achievable? So if you guys need help with that, make sure you hit me up. That's what I do in my coaching program all the time. So if you guys need more help with that, check it out down in the description below. The next thing that I recommend is start to develop some kind of a training process with your jiu-jitsu training. So a training process is something that has a series of steps from start to end that's over a period of time. And this is the idea of basically saying, hey, I'm really bad at arm locks. How do I get better at arm locks? So my arm lock is really crappy. So you need to start developing and building some type of process. And this is why the upper belts a lot of times give that general advice of good things will happen if you just stay on the mat. And that's because they probably already have some kind of training process. They just don't know about it. Me personally, I actually didn't even realize I had one until I became a black belt. Whenever I started developing my online program and I started coaching people, I really wanted to figure out a way to help them beside just saying, just show up or good things happen to those who wait. Basically, everything I'm telling you guys right now. And so I had to go through and I examined my own self. How did I make it to black belt? How do I actually pick the techniques to train? How do I actually make a technique better? And so I realized that there was a process that I did in order to make that better. Now, everyone has their own process. I'm not saying mine is the best or mine is the only. There's probably a lot of people that have it. They just maybe don't know that they do it, but you need to start developing one on your own. And there's a bunch of videos out there on that. Like I said, this whole channel is dedicated to a lot of that idea. But if you guys are wanting a more plug and play process and adopt one from a jiu-jitsu black belt, I'm your boy. So hit me up. I can help you guys out with that. The next thing is really about mindset shifting. So make sure that you guys are shifting your mindset to always being curious and continuing to develop your process over time. Often students will say when they start picking a goal or they start picking a focus or they start developing a process for the first time, it fails and it's going to fail. Just like the first time you tried an elbow escape or you tried to do an arm lock, it probably failed horribly. And that's the same thing in this. Jiu-jitsu is not easy because you're not only learning a brand new set of skills and movements that you've never done physically, but you've also probably never gone through learning something from literally nothing, from infancy to becoming an expert. You're trying to put yourself in that position of what you're already at in your career. So for example, if you're very good at your job and you've accomplished a lot in your job and you've been very successful, you don't understand why you're not having that level of success in jiu-jitsu quicker, because you're successful in this thing, therefore it should translate to being successful in this thing. And that's a lot of times very hard for students to understand. I did a video years ago talking about the two different styles of jiu-jitsu people that I normally see. It's called the nerd and the athlete. And often the nerd is sometimes harder to teach because they're looking for hacks. They've normally learned everything really easy. School came very simply for them. And so they try to kind of skirt around certain aspects and they try to hack all the system. Versus a lot of times the athlete, I know this is the dumb jock analogy, but they will just kind of do what you say. They will build other bad habits of physically doing stuff. But a lot of times they're not really trying to hack anything. They're just, listening. Okay, you say go do that. Okay, I go do that. Okay, you go do this. Okay, I go do that. Being able to stay on task and have the willpower and to stay focused on something and not detour is extremely important at getting better at jiu-jitsu. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This is just a few things that you guys can do in order to get better at jiu-jitsu besides just hearing the advice of just keep showing up and good things happen to those who wait. So hopefully this gave you a little bit more insight about why people say that. And if you say that, please no longer tell people that. Either ask them another question to really get to the root of the problem and see what they need help with, or shoot, send them this video and that way they can watch it and they can get some direct help. But if you guys are looking for more direct help and you guys want my help, make sure you visit down the description below. Also, check out my free acceleration guide. It helps you organize your training and give you guys some structure and some rhyme and reason to develop on what you should be doing. So make sure you download that down below. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button again. I release jiu-jitsu videos on a weekly basis. So thank you guys for sticking in. Make sure you guys check out one of these two videos right here. I have no idea what it's going to be. YouTube's just going to recommend it. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.